I always believed Christmas in our small Vermont town looked like something out of a postcard. Snow resting neatly on rooftops, warm lights spilling from every white-framed window, and the faint smell of pine drifting through the icy air as if the whole town inhaled and exhaled in harmony. But that year, December didn't feel magical. It felt like pressure tightening around my ribs every day, making it harder and harder to breathe. Maybe it was because I had taken on extra shifts at the marketing agency just to make ends meet, returning home long after dark with frozen fingers and a mind too tired to dream. Maybe it was because every night, as I wrapped gifts for coworkers out of sheer politeness, I wondered why I wasn't wrapping anything for my own family, even though I was always the one who saved every spare dollar to make Christmas special for all of us. Or maybe, though I hated admitting it, it was because of my sister, Lily. Lily, the golden child with the perfect hair, the perfect laugh, the perfect Instagram feed, and the perfect ability to walk through life untouched by consequences. Every holiday season seemed to orbit around her, as if the world existed to serve her aesthetic and comfort. Mom used to excuse everything she did. "She's younger," she'd say. "She's figuring herself out." But Lily was 24 now, old enough to know better, old enough to stop expecting the world to cushion her every mistake, old enough not to take what wasn't hers. Yet entitlement doesn't age. It only sharpens growing teeth where boundaries should be. I kept my Christmas savings in a simple white envelope tucked behind the cereal boxes, the same place I'd hidden it for years. Every time I added money, 20s and 10s from weekends spent working instead of resting, I felt a small spark of pride. I imagined the gifts I'd buy. Something thoughtful for Grandma, a warm coat for Dad, something nice for Mom, even though she rarely appreciated anything I did. I never expected gratitude, but I wanted to feel like I contributed to something good, something festive, something that mattered. On December 12th, after a snowstorm left our front steps glittering with ice, I came home shivering, dreaming of a hot shower. I reached for the envelope absent-mindedly, ready to add another 20 from my coat pocket, but the moment I picked it up, dread surged through me. It felt too light, too empty. I opened it, and my stomach dropped so fast it felt like a part of me fell through the floor. Empty. Empty. All $1,200 I had saved. Money earned from skipping lunches, turning down outings, sacrificing sleep, was gone. I tore through the pantry, through the shelves, through my own drawers, hoping maybe I had been careless. But I already knew. I knew exactly who had taken it because Lily had a history of borrowing things, except she never returned them, and Mom never held her accountable. I stormed into the living room where Mom sat folding laundry, humming along to some Christmas song like life was perfectly in tune. "Where's Lily?" I asked, my voice shaking, my breath uneven. Mom didn't even look up. She just kept smoothing a shirt as if this conversation were beneath the fabric she was folding. "Oh, she went shopping with friends." "Why?" Her casual tone was like gasoline on my fear. "The envelope," I forced out. "My Christmas savings. It's gone." Mom exhaled loudly, as if I were the one exhausting her instead of being the one robbed. "Sweetheart, calm down," she said, waving her hand. "Lily needed money for her holiday plans. You know how stressful this time of year is for her." For her. Those two words carved something sharp inside me. For her? That was my money. I worked for that. Mom didn't even flinch. "Well," she said, "you shouldn't hide things in the house if you don't want people touching them." She might as well have slapped me. Something cracked inside me. Quiet but violent, like the splintering of ice beneath your feet right before you fall into freezing water. 2 hours later, Lily came home, her arms weighed down by 6 glossy shopping bags. Designer ones, the kind she usually only posted about but couldn't afford. She smelled like expensive perfume and glitter, and her smile sparkled even more obnoxiously than the snow outside. "Oh hey," she chirped. "You will not believe the sale I found." I stared at her hands, my voice cutting through the air. "With what money?" She blinked with faux innocence. "Oh that. My voice rose despite how hard I tried to control it. "You took everything I saved for months." Lily shrugged, like I was complaining about a broken shoelace instead of theft. "You weren't using it yet," she said lightly. "And I'm broke. Christmas is basically about me trying to look decent in pictures, okay? Don't be dramatic. Don't be dramatic." The irony almost made me laugh. Before I could respond, Mom marched in, arms crossed, jaw set. Enough, both of you. Lily, go put your things away. And you? Stop ruining the holiday spirit. Ruin the holiday spirit? I felt like my chest imploded. Me? I spent every year trying to hold this family together with gifts, decorations, meals, and effort no one acknowledged. And now I was the one ruining Christmas because my sister stole from me? Later that night, I sat in my room with only the glow of my laptop screen lighting the darkness. I scrolled through Lily's newest photos. Shopping bags lined up neatly at her feet, a latte with whipped cream, a new red coat draped over her shoulders, gold earrings catching the light. Her caption read, "Holiday vibes sparkles, spoiled and blessed." Spoiled? Yes. Blessed? Not by me. Not anymore. Something inside me hardened. Not anger but clarity. The kind that arrives when you finally stop making excuses for people who feed off your softness. I realized I had spent years believing silence made me mature. Believing love meant sacrificing until I had nothing left. Believing forgiving made me strong. But sitting there in the cold blue light of the screen, my heart still stinging from the day's betrayals, I finally understood something. Silence doesn't make you strong. It makes you a target. And strength isn't swallowing pain until it poisons you. It's acknowledging the wound and deciding you won't let anyone carve it deeper. That night, as snow continued falling outside my window and distant Christmas lights flickered across the neighborhood, I made myself a promise. I would not be the quiet, accommodating sister anymore. I would not be the unseen daughter who kept the peace by sacrificing my own. I would not let Lily's entitlement dictate my worth. Christmas had always been the holiday I poured my heart into. But this year my heart was tired of bleeding for people who didn't care. So I inhaled deeply, exhaled slowly, and let the cold clarity settle inside me like frost shaping itself into ice. This Christmas I wasn't going to be a target. I wasn't going to be silent. And I sure as hell wasn't going to be generous to the person who emptied the envelope that represented months of my life. No, this Christmas I was going to give my sister exactly what she deserved. And for the first time all season, that thought made me feel warm. Over the next week, while my family assumed I was sulking or being overly sensitive, as if betrayal were simply a phase one could sleep off, I was planning carefully and quietly, with the same stillness as newly fallen snow before it hardens into unforgiving ice. Lily strutted around the house in her brand new red coat, the one she purchased with my stolen money, doing exaggerated twirls in the hallway and pausing dramatically in the mirror to toss her hair as if she were the star of some holiday movie, while Mom clapped and gushed about how radiant she looked. She talked endlessly about her Christmas photoshoot outfit, showing off her gold heels, sparkling dress, and the earrings she claimed she deserved after a stressful year, though the only stress Lily seemed to endure was choosing between latte flavors. Meanwhile, no one noticed me sitting in the corner with my phone in hand, pretending to scroll while my mind quietly calculated every consequence, every detail of the plan taking shape. Revenge rarely comes like a lightning strike. It drips into your mind slowly and deliberately until suddenly everything becomes clear. And that clarity hit me one evening as Lily pranced around the living room in front of the decorated tree I had set up entirely on my own. Every year I buy the gifts. I planned the dinner. I decorated the entire house. I paid for groceries. I made Christmas happen. Yet I was invisible, my efforts dismissed and taken for granted. But not this year. This year I would still give gifts, just not the kind they expected. I ordered something small, sleek, and innocuous online, shipped discreetly to my office so no curious eyes at home would notice. The item arrived in an elegant black box, smooth and harmless looking, though inside it carried the biggest truth bomb our family Christmas had ever seen. When I held it in my hands, its weight felt symbolic, like condensed justice waiting to be unleashed. Meanwhile, Lily's behavior only grew more unbearable. She walked through the house with her nose slightly raised, whispering loudly on the phone about how some people just don't understand luxury, making sure I could hear every pretentious word. She hovered around Mom, fishing for praise about her outfit choices, claiming she had a reputation to maintain online, as if her social media presence were more important than the real people standing in front of her. Dad stayed out of it as usual, too preoccupied with work to see the tension brewing like a storm behind frosted windows. He tried every year to pretend everything was fine by giving us both gift cards and calling it equal treatment. But equality means nothing when only one daughter's mistakes are forgiven before they're acknowledged. On Christmas Eve morning, I woke early to bake cinnamon rolls, the same recipe Grandma taught me when I was 12. The warm smell filled the kitchen, a reminder of the Christmases I once wished we were, the kind full of laughter and love that I never truly experienced. As I pulled the tray from the oven, Lily walked in wearing her new coat and a smug smile. "Perfect," she said cheerfully. "These are great for my holiday morning post." Then, with the casual entitlement of a queen dismissing a servant, she gestured at me. "Oh, can you step out of the shot? I want it to look like I made these." I stepped aside, not because she asked but because letting her believe she held all the power made the impending reversal that much sharper. By noon, I slipped out to complete the second part of my plan. At the bank, the cashier recognized me and offered a sympathetic look as she printed certified statements. Every withdrawal, every timestamp, every digital receipt tied directly to Lily's purchases. When she handed me the envelope, she whispered, "I'm really sorry you had to go through this." I smiled not because I was okay, but because for the first time in a long while I felt in control. "Don't worry," I replied softly. "This is all going to have a happy ending." Back home, the living room glowed with warm golden lights reflecting off ornaments I had hung alone. Christmas music played softly while Mom busied herself preparing the turkey. Cousins filtered in, chatting and laughing, filling the house with a cozy chaos I usually loved. Grandma had come all the way from Connecticut, her cane clicking gently against the hardwood as she moved around, hugging everyone. Christmas used to make me feel warm. But this year I felt sharp, focused, steady, as if every moment were aligning perfectly for what needed to happen. When the time came to exchange gifts, Mom clapped her hands with excitement. "Okay, gift time. Lily, sweetheart, you open yours first." Of course. Lily practically glowed as she reached for the biggest box underneath the tree, wrapped beautifully in shimmering paper, the kind of wrap I reserved for gifts I used to pour thought into. She squealed dramatically, milking the attention, tugging at the ribbon with theatrical flair. She expected luxury, something expensive, something that matched her aesthetic. Instead, when she lifted the lid, she found a small wooden box inside, elegant but simple. Confused, she flicked the latch open. Her smile collapsed so fast it was almost audible. Inside the box sat the sleek digital photo frame I had ordered, dark and glossy like a mirror that reflected truth instead of faces. And inside the device, dozens of images began autoplaying the moment she touched it. Screenshots of her credit card receipts, selfies of her shopping sprees, and, most damning of all, high-resolution scans of the bank statements proving she had drained my Christmas savings. Each picture displayed one after the other, glowing brightly in the dim room, casting harsh light across Lily's frozen expression. The room felt utterly silent. Completely, painfully silent. The air grew heavy, like everyone suddenly forgot how to breathe. What is this?" Lily whispered, her voice cracking as color drained from her face. I sat calmly on the couch, holding my mug with both hands as if I were watching a predictable movie. "Your Christmas gift," I said evenly. "You took mine, so I made yours easier for everyone to see." Mom gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. "Turn that off right now," she demanded. But before Lily could react, a sharp voice cut through the air. "No," Grandma said, louder than I'd ever heard her. "Let it play." And so it did. Every transaction, every timestamp, every indulgent selfie where Lily flaunted her purchases with captions bragging about being spoiled and blessed. Even Dad, normally detached, leaned forward, stunned at the unfolding truth. The warm Christmas lights reflected off the screen, making each accusation glow with unmistakable clarity. Lily's eyes filled with tears as she sputtered, "You're humiliating me." "You humiliated yourself," I said softly. "I'm just returning the gift." She lunged toward the frame in a panic, trying to switch it off, but the damage was already done. The truth had been delivered, wrapped neatly in a wooden box with a bow, and nothing she did could undo the sudden shift in the room. People weren't looking at her the same. They weren't laughing or fawning. They were silent, watching, processing. And for the first time in our lives, Lily was exposed, not by cruelty but by consequence. And the best part? I wasn't finished yet. The silence in the living room shifted slowly, heavily, like the air itself was realigning, as though everyone present was finally seeing Lily clearly for the first time in years, without the soft glow of favoritism, excuses, or carefully curated Instagram charm blurring the truth they had ignored for far too long. The twinkling Christmas lights, once warm and inviting, now seemed to flicker with a harsher edge, illuminating every receipt, every timestamp, every screenshot displayed on the digital frame that continued playing its silent slideshow of Lily's lies. My cousins exchanged stunned glances across the room. Grandma lowered her glasses to inspect the numbers with the sharp scrutiny she reserved for detecting dishonesty, and even my father, usually neutral, floating above family conflicts like a detached observer, looked deeply betrayed as he leaned forward, his jaw tightening in quiet disappointment. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and heavy with disbelief as he said Lily's name, asking if she had truly stolen from me, and Lily, who had always danced through life insulated by approval, stammered with trembling hands, trying to insist she had only borrowed the money and intended to return it. But the room didn't buy it, and neither did the evidence, because as soon as she tried to defend herself, the frame betrayed her again, displaying a smug selfie caption with retail therapy after draining my sister's savings, the little laughing emoji, and money wings slicing through the silence like a knife. Gasps rose around us like a chorus, and Mom immediately rushed toward me with anger twisting her features, scolding me for humiliating Lily and claiming I should have handled this privately if I had concerns. That was the moment I stood up, not abruptly or dramatically, but steadily, with a calmness that felt like the first deep breath after being underwater too long. I told Mom in a voice more controlled and powerful than she had ever heard from me, that for years she had preached that staying quiet protected the peace, but the only peace we ever protected was hers, never mine, never the truth, never fairness. My words hit her harder than I expected, because she froze mid-stride, her expression collapsing into something unsettled, as though she were finally forced to confront the imbalance she had nurtured without ever naming it. I continued, my voice stronger now, spilling years of unspoken truth. How she taught Lily that taking from me had no consequences. How she taught Lily that my hard work was hers to enjoy. How she taught Lily that Christmas was about looking good, not being good. Lily's tears came harder then. Not delicate or innocent, but panicked, hot with the realization that hiding behind Mom's indulgence would no longer protect her. Dad looked at me with eyes softening into guilt, asking why I didn't come to him sooner, and I answered with the honesty he deserved, that no one listened when I spoke, that my words only mattered now because the evidence was undeniable and playing out in front of a room full of witnesses. The truth had finally become too loud to drown out. Grandma, clearing her throat with the authority of someone who had weathered more holidays, more storms, more truths than anyone else in the room, said she believed Lily deserved a chance to make things right. Not because she deserved mercy but because accountability was the only path out of this mess. Everyone looked at Lily, whose face was swollen from crying, the mascara smudged under her eyes like bruises made from her own choices. She whispered an apology, soft, fragile, almost pitiful, but apologies are currency, and like currency, they only mean something when backed by real value, real action. And Lily's apology felt like counterfeit until proven otherwise. That was when I reached into my bag and pulled out the final envelope. The part of the plan that guaranteed this wouldn't dissolve into hollow forgiveness. The part that ensured consequences would finally exist for her actions. I handed it to Dad and explained it was a repayment plan I had drafted with the bank. Automatic monthly transfers from Lily's account to mine until the entire amount she stole was paid back. It wasn't cruel. It was just fair. Dad nodded firmly, agreeing it was necessary, while Mom looked horrified but stayed silent, perhaps realizing she no longer had the authority to shield Lily from facing the truth. Lily looked as if she wanted the floor to open and swallow her whole. But I wasn't doing this to destroy her. I was doing it to reclaim myself. When she asked in a broken whisper why I was doing this, the answer came easily, effortlessly, because it had been building inside me for years. This year I was giving myself a gift too, the gift of not being her doormat anymore. The room fell quiet again, but the silence was different now. It wasn't suffocating or tense but cleansing, as though the truth had scrubbed the air clean, leaving something new, something real behind. After the relatives left and the house slowly quieted, I stepped outside into the cold winter air, letting the icy wind wash over me. Snowflakes drifted lazily down, glowing under the soft porch light, and for the first time in years, Christmas didn't feel heavy on my chest. It felt freeing, as if the weight of every unspoken resentment had finally melted and fallen away. Inside, no one looked at Lily the same. Not with cruelty but with clarity, and more importantly, Lily didn't look at me the same either. She looked at me with something unfamiliar. Respect tinged with fear, the kind of awareness people feel when they realize the person they underestimated has finally stepped into their own strength. On Christmas morning, long before anyone else woke, I found a small envelope slipped under my bedroom door. Inside were $20, the first payment. And though the amount was small, the gesture was monumental because it meant she understood the gravity of what she had done, and that she was willing, perhaps for the first time in her life, to take responsibility. But the real gift wasn't the money. The real gift was the peace settling in my chest like warm light. For the first time, I understood that revenge doesn't have to be cruel or violent or wrapped in fury. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is wrapped in truth, justice, and the courage to stop shrinking yourself to keep the peace for others. I realized that all along, I had been waiting for someone in my family to defend me, to stand up for me, to notice the unfairness, but the only person who could truly do that was me. And I had finally done it. As I watched snow cover the quiet street outside, soft and pure, I knew something had changed forever. I had reclaimed my voice. I had reclaimed my power. And the truth, cold, sharp, and undeniable, had become the most unforgettable Christmas gift of all.